Hey guys, Omni here. A few days ago, I actually saw Jurassic World Dominion, and I know I'm late to this one, but like I've mentioned before, I was out of town over the weekend, and I saw this Monday, the evening when I got back, and I've kind of been just delaying making this video, and I figured right now, might as well just get it out of the way. It was just an overall disappointment for me, man. I won't even lie. This franchise, it's had its ups and downs, but this might be my least favorite entry, and I was not a fan of Fallen Kingdom, but after seeing this film, my opinions on that movie have elevated a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. At least that film was focused. It had a singular drive. While, yes, a lot of it was stupid, turn your brain off, horror fun, this is just stupid. Oh my gosh. This movie, while bringing back their original cast into the film as a major part of it too, they have their own storyline from beginning to end. This film has two major plot threads that run parallel and then converge towards the end for the third act, one of which features prominently the original cast from Jurassic Park 1, which is, to this day, still my favorite film of all time. I love that movie. It was the first film I ever saw in theaters, and I've read the books, so this franchise is close and near and dear to my heart. Then our second plot has our world characters, Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, picking up after the events of Fallen Kingdom as they're trying to keep Maisie out of the public eye and protected from anybody that might be after her. Same with Blue, as dinosaurs are starting to just kind of roam around and, you know, are merely kind of afterthoughts. I was watching somebody else's review about this film, and they put it in a very strong way that I actually 100% agree with. This movie, at the end of the day, kind of feels like one of those episodes of The Walking Dead where it's mostly centered on the people. The zombies are not the focus of the episode at all. It's the people and their problems and all that. That is kind of like this. The dinosaurs are there. There are some great sequences with the dinosaurs, but it's not really about them at this point. There's a whole other thing that this movie is about that is barely alluded to in the trailers, and it's kind of hilarious, to be honest. This movie is unintentionally funny. Like, if you're going into this just wanting some dumb turn your brain off action, which is kind of what it seems like this franchise has devolved into, and I'm sure some people could make an argument that it's maybe always been this way, but I do not feel that way about the first two films, at least. And I know Lost World gets a bad rap, but even 3, I think, tried a little bit harder to be a thriller than this movie. And to kind of let the dinosaurs exist, let the characters experience them in the way that they are. And maybe if we had actually committed to what the first 15 minutes of this movie and the final 5 minutes of this movie are trying to discuss, which is, can we coincide with these dinosaurs? Can we live? Can we find balance? That is only the bookends of this movie, and the middle is completely disregarding that. Nothing to do with that whatsoever. Though we do see some interesting ways in which dinosaurs have kind of creeped into the culture in some ways, which is interesting. Now, there are some good ideas. Like, don't get me wrong. There are some good things that are in here. There are some strong little sequences here and there. There are some great action set pieces throughout. But it definitely feels more like a Jason Bourne or Daniel Craig James Bond movie that just happens to have dinosaurs in there, until we finally get towards the third act, in which it just becomes like a Member Berries Remember That thing callback fest, as it kind of turns into your every Jurassic Park movie ending where we're in an isolated spot, dinosaurs are everywhere, and shit's going crazy. That's kind of just where it kind of devolves into. Any ethos of something new or spectacular just kind of disappears by the end of the movie. And I gotta say, like, with some pretty charismatic actors and stuff like this, I felt like I'd say everybody in this, except for, let's say, out of the returning cast members, let's specify that. Everybody except for Bryce Dallas Howard out of the returning cast, whether it be from the Park franchise or the World franchise, it really feels like they did not give a shit about this script or their performance. Chris Pratt is barely there, and I gotta say, they established in Jurassic World this thing, like, you know, the thing he does when he's trying to calm the raptors, the ones he raised from birth to accept his commands and his leadership. He does that to every dinosaur, all of the ones he's never met at all, not trained whatsoever. And he's just like, is it working? No, it's not. Stop doing it, Chris. It doesn't make any sense. Every time he did it, I was just laughing. Oh my gosh. It was hilarious. This movie, like I said, is unintentionally hilarious. Oh man, and I gotta say, that's not what I watch these movies for. I've never felt that with any of the previous films, even at their worst. I've never been like, okay, this is just stupid funny. This, it was rough, man. It was. And like I said, like the third act, like does kind of turn into like this callback extravaganza as they're recreating scenes from previous Jurassic Park's moments. They even have Laura Dern's Ellie Sattler dress in the same attire, essentially, that she was in the original film, and even do the slow stand-up glasses thing. You remember that? You remember she saw the Brachiosaurus? Yep. We call back to all kinds of stuff, man. I'm a man who loves my fan service. You guys know. If you throw in a reference, if you throw in member berries, if you throw in some fan service, I'm a fan that likes to be serviced, man. I am. But this got way cringy at times where I was like, oh my lord, they are just ham-fisting these things in here. Especially, I don't want to spoil it, but like especially a callback to the first movie that I'm surprised even came back around. And it just makes absolutely no sense how it happened, and then just the universe pulls all of its karmatic strings together to make this sequence pay off in the end for a particular character. I will say, newcomers, Mamoudou Athie and DeWanda Wise, those two characters had my attention. I thought they were brilliant. I thought their performances were fun. I thought they felt grounded in this world, and they were excited to be there. I would have loved to spend more times with Mamoudou Athie's Ramsey and what was going on there at Biosyn, as well as exploring a little bit more of Kayla, who DeWanda Wise was just charming playing that character. And I do think her and Pratt had way more chemistry than anybody else in this, considering we've had 2 movies with him and Bryce Dallas Howard. I felt nothing for those 2 characters in this one. Like, they were just, Chris Pratt might as well have been a cardboard cutout in this movie. And Jeff Goldblum is just Jeff Goldblum in this, to like modern Jeff Goldblum. He doesn't even feel like Ian Malcolm in this movie. And Laura Dern, I think, is the most unscathed in this, but her performance just is also, I don't know. Everything just feels so disconnected. It feels, now, I don't know where to place that. I don't know if it's the direction. I don't know if it's the script, because I do feel like with the level and the lengths that they go towards in this film to kind of flesh things out and pay homage to certain things and pay off full circle some things that were set up long back into the first film, that there has to have been some passion for this franchise, for this story. And I don't know where it got lost in translation, because at the end of the day, this felt so emotionless. I will say, the evolution of Henry Wu from Jurassic Park 1 to now is fascinating. And it's kind of funny, as many things in this are. Now, like I said, if you just want to turn your brain off, throw some popcorn in your face, I'm sure you're going to have a great time. But I'm having more fun talking about this movie than I did watching it, personally, because it is ridiculous. And it's like a really high budget sci-fi channel movie. You know, this is kind of what this is. You know, it looks great, cameras are great, we paid for the actors, but like the premise is like Birdemic 2. Oh my lord. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate this movie. It's just a massive disappointment as a fan of this franchise up until this point. It is definitely my least favorite entry right now. Maybe after a rewatch, maybe after some time to kind of let the steam cool off, maybe I'll feel a little bit differently. But right now, this is just my raw reaction, 3 days after I've seen it, and I'm still kind of feeling roughly about the same way. But I don't know. If I have time, I was thinking about going to check it out again this weekend to see if maybe a second viewing, after having my expectations tempered a little bit, might leave me coming out of this in a different way. Oh, the comparison I wanted to make. Now, again, this is just inviting a whole other thing. This feels like the haphazardness of Rise of Skywalker. The extremes that it kind of push things to try to like pay off all these other things from previous movies, to try to just close all of it together in the last entry. And that's what this film feels like it was trying to do. Like, there were some things from the previous one where it's just like, let's just kind of retcon that away into something else and try to make that work. It definitely felt like they were just trying to like, let's just end it. But you don't know, man. It is open for possibilities for more, but I just feel bad, man. I was really excited for this movie. Especially, I was excited and concerned because they were bringing in the original cast, and it's such a beloved movie to me. And they did bring them in. They weren't just a glorified cameo. They had substantial roles throughout the entirety of this film, and arguably so, maybe even shared more screen time than the actual returning cast from Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom. But aside from maybe Laura Dern, who was very much so, I feel like a logical choice to bring back for the film, some of the other ones, like Ian Malcolm and Sam Neill, like, they could have been any other character. Like, I get the connection they tried to make, and I get what they were trying to do with some of the things that the previous movies have done and trying to fix those in this to give some of that payoff for fans that were expecting this after the first film. Anyway, I'm getting a little too, I don't know. That might be, I don't know. If you've seen the movie, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but I don't want to get into it too much without potentially spoiling anything. But this is more of like a devolved rant at this point than a review. I don't know. Like I said, I had fun. The score was okay. There was some hints of the original sprinkled throughout, but never enough to like hit you with that oomph that they had in the previous entries. They tried to do this thing with this Gigantosaurus or Giganotosaurus or whatever they called it, and the T-Rex, and it was so silly. Anyway, guys, what did you think of the movie? Sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Feel free to join us in our Discord. We can talk about it there as well. Links to that and all my socials down below. Feel free to join me on each and every one of those. But before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Manny Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane, Yori Korskov, Margaret Grace, Mary Bradley, Melita, Robert Anguiano, and Cal Kestis Nation. Thank you guys so much for putting up with me throughout this video. But that's it for this one, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.